Oh, Shalom Sage, I didn't even see you in there. Yeah, you good? I'll read. I'm gonna wait a little bit, see if anybody else come in. I got the holy oils burning though. And I got some what was it, some kasha, some eucalyptus, no, not eucalyptus, some myrrh, some frankincense, or some other stuff burning. That junk helped me get in a good meditation the other day. Oh yeah, and some spikenard. I basically burned like 7 different oils that are good for meditation, 7 holy oils. But I made sure not to recreate any of the anointing oils that was in Exodus and whatever. But yeah, that junk. Because I know the priests or whatever, they used to burn the stuff in the tent and they used to inhale that junk. And it's good for inducing meditations. So I'm going to start doing that frequently. But I had some 7. What I had? I had frankincense, myrrh, galbanum, spikenard, hyssop. What else? What else I had? Was it sisters? Myrtle, sandalwood. Yeah. Sip. Was it? No, that wasn't the ones another day. Yeah. I'm gonna wait till like 8:30. See if a couple more people come in. Ping whoever you can. Kind of fell off a couple days because nobody showed up on Wednesday, I think it was. And then had some things going on, but better get back on it. I got a crazy story to tell about that meditation on Thursday night though, but I'll save that for another room. It was a crazy experience. Actually helped open my girl's eyes. Yeah, but I'll save that for a different room. It was a beautiful experience though. So yeah, about 1 to 2 minutes. Get this Leviticus 11 to 20 going. Ain't gonna keep it too long. And the more people that come in, the longer I'll make the readings. Because the more ears, the more I want to read, and the more people that can read along also. So yeah, about 1 to 2 minutes. Once 8:30 hits, I'm gonna just start. You know what? While I wait, let's just get started. All right, Leviticus 11. Yahweh spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying to them, "Speak to the children of Yasharal, saying, These are the creatures that you may eat from among all the animals that are upon the earth. Everything among the animals that has a split hoof, which is completely separated into double hooves, and that brings up its cud, that one you may eat. But this is what you shall not eat from among those that bring up their cud, or that have split hooves. The camel, for it brings up the cud, but its hoof is not split. It is unclean to you. I also want to bring out, this is a crazy thing about Islam, because they kind of follow Torah, but they actually eat camels. But yeah. And the hyrax, for it brings up the cud, but its hoof is not split. It is unclean to you. And the hare, for it brings up the cud, but its hoof is not split. It is unclean to you. And the pig, for its hoof is split, and its hoof is completely separated, but it does not chew its cud. It is unclean to you. You shall not eat of their flesh, nor shall you touch their carcasses. They are unclean to you. This you may eat from everything that is in the water, everything that has fins and scales in the water, in the seas and in the streams. Those you may eat. And everything that does not have fins and scales in the seas and in the streams, from all that teems in the water, and from all living creatures in the water, they are an abomination to you, and they shall remain an abomination to you. You shall not eat of their flesh, and you shall abominate their carcass. Everything that does not have fins and scales in the water, it is an abomination to you. These shall you abominate from among the birds. They may not be eaten. They are an abomination. The nesher, and I don't even know what these words are in English. The nesher, the perez, the oznir, the da'ah, and the ayah, according to its kind. Every orev, according to its kind. The bas hayana, the takmos, the shakaf, and the nets, according to its kind. The kos, the shalak, and the yanshuf, the tin shemes, the ka'as, and the rakam, the kasida, the anafa, according to its kind, the tukifas, and the atalef. Let me see what they describe that as. According to the commentary, it's talking about bald eagles, bearded vultures, kite, or any species of vulture. Basically, any birds that are scavengers. The orev is assumed to be a raven, an ostrich, sparrowhawk, owls, horned owl, pelican, herons, cormorants, bats. Yeah, we should know that. What else? Heron, wild hen, hoopoe. I ain't never heard of that. And I guess the atalef is a bat also. But I continue on from verse 20. Every flying, teeming creature that walks on four legs, it is an abomination to you. Only this may you eat from among all flying, teeming creatures that walk on four legs. One that has jumping legs above its legs, with which to spring upon the earth. You may eat these from among them. The arbe, according to its kind. The salam, according to its kind. The chargo, according to its kind. And the chagaf, according to its kind. Every flying, teeming thing that has four legs and is an abomination to you. Shalom and Alet. We are in chapter 11 and verse 24. And I got the holy, hey bro, I got like mad holy incense burning. And things were good for the meditation the other day, bro. Crazy experience, man, with my girl. I had 7 oils that are good for meditation. I made sure not to recreate the anointing oil or the other one in Exodus. All praise to the Most High. All right, let's get this reading going. You become contaminated through the following. Anyone who touches their carcass becomes contaminated until the evening. And anyone who carries part of their carcass shall immerse his clothing and be contaminated until the evening. Every animal that has split hooves that are not completely split or does not chew its cud, they are contaminated to you. Whoever touches them becomes contaminated. And everyone that walks on his paws, among all animals that walks on 4 legs, they are contaminated to you. Whoever touches their carcass shall be contaminated until the evening. One who carries their carcass shall immerse his clothing and be contaminated until evening. They are contaminated to you. These are the contaminated ones, Salakia, to you among the teeming animals that teem upon the earth. The Koled, the Akbar, and the South. according to his kind. The Anaka, the Koach, and the Leta'a, and the Komet, and the Tinshemesh. And I guess according to the commentary, those are weasels, moles, mice, or any other rodents, frogs, you know, hedgehogs, porcupines, vipers, according to Radak, lizards, snails, chameleons, things that we know not to eat. Like, we know as a people not to eat these things. Kind of obvious, but yeah. All right, verse 31. Only these are contaminated to you among all the teeming animals. Anyone who touches them when they are dead shall be contaminated until evening. And when they are dead, anything upon which part of them will fall shall become contaminated. Whether it is a wooden utensil, a garment, leather, or sackcloth, any utensil with which work is done shall be brought into the water and remain contaminated until evening, and then become cleansed. Any earthenware utensil into whose interior one of them will fall, everything in it shall become contaminated, and you shall break it. Of any food it is edible, of any food that is edible, upon which water comes, shall become contaminated. And any beverage that can be drunk in any vessel shall become contaminated. Anything upon which part of their carcass may fall shall be contaminated. An oven or a stove shall be smashed. They are contaminated, and they shall remain contaminated to you. Only a spring or a cistern, a gathering of water, shall remain pure. But one who touches their carcass shall become contaminated. And if its carcass will fall upon any edible seed that has been planted, it remains pure. But if water has been placed upon a seed, and then their carcass falls upon it, it is contaminated to you. If an animal that you may eat has died, one who touches its carcass shall become contaminated until evening. And one who eats from its carcass shall immerse his clothing and remain contaminated until evening. And one who carries its carcass shall immerse his clothing and remain contaminated until evening. Every teeming creature that teems upon the ground, it is an abomination. It shall not be eaten. Everything that creeps on its belly and everything that walks on four legs, up to those with numerous legs, among all the teeming things that teem upon the earth, you may not eat them, for they are an abomination. Do not make yourselves abominable by means of any teeming thing. Do not contaminate yourselves through them, lest you become contaminated through them. For I am Yahweh, your Elohim. You are to sanctify yourself, and shall be holy, for I am holy. And you shall not contaminate yourselves through any teeming thing that creeps on the earth. For I am Yahweh, who elevates you from the land of Egypt to be an Elohim to you. You shall be holy, for I am holy. This is the law of the animal, the bird, every living creature that swarms in the water, and for every creature that teems on the ground, to distinguish between the contaminated and the pure, and between the creature that may be eaten and the creature that may not be eaten. Shalom, life within. Hey, anybody wants to come up, raise your hand and if you want to help read. If not, I'm gonna just keep reading. All right, we're going on chapter 12, Leviticus. Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the children of Yasharal, saying, when a woman conceives and gives birth to a male, she shall be contaminated for a 7-day period. As during the days of her separation, infirmity shall she be contaminated. On the 8th day, the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised. For 33 days she shall remain in blood of purity. She may not touch anything sacred, and she may not enter the sanctuary until the completion of her days of purity. If she gives birth to a female, she shall be contaminated for 2 weeks. As during her separation, for 66 days she shall remain in blood of purity. Upon the completion of the days of her purity for a son or for a daughter, she shall bring a sheep within its first year for a burnt offering, and a young dove or a turtle dove for a sin offering, to the entrance of the tent of meeting, to the Kohen. He shall offer it before Yahweh and atone for her, and she becomes purified from the source of her blood. This is the law of one who gives birth to a male or to a female. But if she cannot afford a sheep, then she shall take two turtle doves or two young doves, one for a burnt offering and one for a sin offering. And the Kohen shall provide atonement for her, and she shall become purified. Chapter 13. Yahweh spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying, if a person will have on the skin of his flesh a se'ez or sapakas or bahares, and it will become a saras affliction on the skin of his flesh. He shall be brought to Aaron the Kohen, or to one of his sons the Kohanim. The Kohen shall look at the affliction on the skin of his flesh. If hair in the affliction has changed to white, and the affliction's appearance is deeper than the skin of his flesh, it is a saras affliction. The Kohen shall look at it and declare him contaminated. If it is a white baharis on the skin of his flesh, and its appearance is not deeper than the skin, and the hair has not changed to white, then the Kohen shall quarantine the affliction for a 7-day period. The Kohen shall look at it on the 7th day, and behold, the affliction retained its color, and the affliction did not spread on the skin. Then the Kohen shall quarantine it for a second 7-day period. The Kohen shall look at it again on the 7th day, and behold, if the affliction has dimmed and the affliction has not spread on the skin, then the Kohen shall declare him pure. It is a mispakas. He shall immerse his garments and become pure. But if the mispakas should spread on the skin after it had been shown to the Kohen for its purification, it should be shown to the Kohen again. The Kohen shall look and behold, if the mispakas has spread on the skin, the Kohen shall declare him contaminated. It is saras. If a saras affliction will be in a person, he shall be brought to the Kohen. The Kohen shall look and behold, it is a white says on the skin, and it has changed hair to white, or there is healthy, live flesh within the says. I don't even know how to pronounce that. It is an old saras on the skin of his flesh, and the Kohen shall declare him contaminated. He shall not quarantine it, for it is contaminated. Shalom, Daniel. We're on chapter 13, verse 12 right now. If the saras will erupt on the skin, and the saras will cover the entire skin of the saras, from his head to his feet, wherever the eyes of the Kohen can see, the Kohen shall look, and behold, the affliction has covered his entire flesh. Then he shall declare the affliction to be pure, having turned completely white, it is pure. On the day healthy flesh appears in it, it shall be contaminated. The Kohen shall look at the healthy flesh and declare him contaminated. The healthy flesh is contaminated, it is saras. But if the healthy flesh changes again and turns white, he shall come to the Kohen. The Kohen shall look at it, and behold, the affliction has changed to white. The Kohen shall declare the affliction pure. It is pure. If flesh will have an inflammation on its skin, and it will have healed, and on the place of the inflammation there will be a white se'es, or a white baharis, streaked with red, it shall be shown to the Kohen. The Kohen shall look, and behold, its appearance is lower than the skin, and the hair has turned white. The Kohen shall declare him contaminated. It is a sorrowous affliction that erupted on the inflammation. But if the Kohen looks at it, and behold, there is no white hair in it, and it is not lower than the skin, and it is dim, the Kohen shall quarantine it for a 7-day period. If it spreads on the skin, the Kohen shall declare him contaminated. It is an affliction. But if the baharis remains in its place without spreading, it is a scarring of the inflammation. The Kohen shall declare him pure. If a person will have a burn from fire on his skin, and the healed skin of the burn is a white baharis that is streaked with red or is all white, the Kohen shall look, and behold, hair has turned white in the baharis, and its appearance is deeper than the skin. It is saras that has erupted on the burn. The Kohen shall declare him contaminated. It is a saras affliction. And if the Kohen looks at it, and behold, there is no white hair in the baharis, and it is not lower than the skin, and it is dim, the Kohen shall quarantine him for a 7-day period. The Kohen shall look at it on the 7th day. If it has spread on the skin, the Kohen shall declare him contaminated. It is a sorrowous affliction. But if the baharis remains in his place, not spreading on the skin, and it is dim, it is a saez of the burn, the Kohen shall declare him pure, for it is scarring of the burn. A man or a woman in whom there will be an affliction, on the scalp or in the beard, the Kohen shall look at the affliction, and behold, its appearance is deeper than the skin, and within it is weak, golden hair. The Kohen shall declare him contaminated. It is a nesek, a sourest of the head or the beard. But if the Kohen looks at the nesek affliction, and behold, its appearance is not deeper than the skin, but there is no dark hair within it, the Kohen shall quarantine the nesek affliction for a 7-day period. The Kohen shall look at the affliction on the 7th day, and behold, the nesek has not spread, and no golden hair was in it, and the appearance of the nesek is not deeper than the skin. Then he shall shave himself, but he shall not shave the nesek, and the Kohen shall quarantine the nesek for a second 7-day period. The Kohen shall look at the nesek on the 7th day, and behold, the nesek had not spread on the skin, and its appearance is not deeper than the skin. The Kohen shall declare him pure, and he shall immerse his clothing, and he is pure. But if the nesek shall spread on the skin after he had been declared pure, the Kohen shall look at it, and behold, the nesek has spread on the skin. The Kohen need not examine it for golden hair, it is contaminated. But if the nesek has retained its appearance, and dark hair has sprouted in it, the nesek has healed, it is pure. The Kohen shall declare it pure. If a man or a woman has spots in the skin of their flesh, white spots, the Kohen shall look, and behold, on the skin of their flesh are dim white spots. It is a bohak that has erupted on the skin, it is pure. If the hair of a man's head falls out, he is bald at the back of the head, he is pure. And if his hair falls out toward the front of his head, he is frontally bald, he is pure. And if in the posterior or frontal baldness there shall be a white affliction streaked with red, it is an eruption of sorrows on his posterior or frontal baldness. The Kohen shall look at it, and behold, there is a se'ez affliction that is white streaked with red in his posterior or frontal baldness. Like the appearance of sorrows on the skin of the flesh, he is a person with sorrows. He is contaminated. The Kohen shall declare him contaminated. His affliction is upon his head. And the person with sorrows in whom there is the affliction, his garment shall be rent. The hair of his head shall be unshorn, and he shall cloak himself up to his lips. He is to call out, contaminated, contaminated. All the days of that the affliction is upon him, he shall remain contaminated. He is contaminated. He shall dwell in isolation. His dwelling shall be outside the camp. Well, it sound like he got corona. If there shall be a sorrow's affliction in a garment, in a woolen garment or a linen garment, or in the warp or the woof of the linen or the wool, or in leather or in anything fashioned of leather, and the affliction shall be deep green or deep red in the garment or the leather, or the warp or the woof, or in any leather utensil, it is a sorrow's affliction, and it shall be shown to the Kohen. The Kohen shall look at the affliction, and he shall quarantine the affliction for a 7-day period. He shall look at the affliction on the 7th day. If the affliction has spread in the garment or in the warp or in the woof or in the leather, for whatever purpose the leather has been fashioned, the affliction is a malignant sorrows. It is contaminated. He shall burn the garment or the warp or the wool, woof of the wool or of the linen, or any leather utensil in which the affliction may be. For it is a malignant sorrows, it shall be burned in fire. But if the Kohen shall look, and behold, the affliction had not spread in the garment, or the warp, or the woof, or any leather utensil, the Kohen shall command, and they shall wash the air of the affliction, and he shall quarantine it for a second 7-day period. The Kohen shall look after the affliction had been washed, and behold, the affliction has not changed its color, and the affliction has not spread. It is contaminated. You shall burn it in fire. It is a penetrating affliction in his worn garment, or in his new garment. But if the Kohen shall look, and behold, the affliction grew dimmer after it was washed, he shall rip it from the garment, or from the leather, or from the warp, or from the woof. If it appears again in the garment, or in the warp, or in the woof, or in any leather utensil, it is an eruption. You shall burn in fire that which contains the affliction. But if the garment, or the warp, or the woof, or any leather utensil that has been washed, and then the affliction left them, it shall be immersed again, and it shall become pure. This is the law of the sorrow's affliction, a garment of wool or linen, or the warp or the woof, or any leather utensil to declare it pure, or to declare it contaminated. Shalom, Janisha. We're in Leviticus 14. Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, "This shall be the law of the Masorah on the day of his purification. He shall be brought to the Kohen." If you want to read, Janisha, I'll bring you up. The Kohen shall go forth to the outside of the camp. The Kohen shall look, and behold, the sorrow's affliction had been healed from the Masorah. The Kohen shall command, and for the person being purified there shall be taken 2 live clean birds, cedar wood, crimson thread, and hyssop. The Kohen shall command, and the one bird shall be slaughtered into an earthenware vessel over spring water. As for the live bird, he shall take it with the cedar wood and the crimson thread and the hyssop, and he shall dip them and the live bird into the blood of the bird that was slaughtered over the spring water. Then he shall sprinkle 7 times upon the person being purified from the sorrows. He shall purify him, and he shall set the live bird free upon the open field. The person being purified shall immerse his clothing, shave off all his, immerse himself in the water, and become pure.
Salakia. Oh, my bad, brother.
You good, you good. Thereafter he may enter the camp, but he shall dwell outside of his tent for 7 days. On the 7th day he shall shave off all his hair. His head, his beard, his eyebrows, and all his hair shall he shave off. He shall immerse his clothing and immerse his flesh in water and become pure. Did you want to read, Janisha?
I mean, I can read if you want me to. I was just trying to make sure I was in the right book. Second Chronicles 11 through 20.
Oh, no, we in the Leviticus.
Leviticus, see, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I was trying to make sure that I was in the same book of verse you was in. But I can read if you want me to.
All right,
Because you were doing a good job.
if you want to take over when I hit 15, you're good. I'm in 14 right now, about to start verse 10. All right. On the 8th day, he shall take 2 unblemished male lambs and 1 unblemished ewe in his first year. 3/10 ephah of fine flour mixed with oil, and 1 log of oil. The Kohen who purifies shall place the person being purified along with them before Yahweh at the entrance of the tent of meeting. The Kohen shall take the 1 lamb and bring it near for a guilt offering, with the log of oil, and he shall wave them as a wave service before Yahweh. He shall slaughter the lamb in the place where he will slaughter the sin offering and the burnt offering, in the holy place. For like the sin offering, the guilt offering is the Kohen's, it is most holy. The Kohen shall take from the blood of the guilt offering, and the Kohen shall place it on the middle part of the right ear of the person being purified, and on the thumb of his right hand, and the big toe of his right foot. The Kohen shall take from the log of oil, and he shall pour it upon another Kohen's left palm. The Kohen shall dip his right forefinger into the oil that is in his left palm, and he shall sprinkle the oil with his finger 7 times before Yahweh. Some of the oil remaining on his palm, the Kohen shall put on the middle part of the right ear of the man being purified, on the right, on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot, on the blood of the guilt offering. Shalom, Isaiah. And the rest of the oil that is on the Kohen's palm, he shall place upon the head of the person being purified from his contamination. After that, he shall slaughter the burnt offering. The Kohen shall bring the burnt offering and the meal offering up to the altar, and the Kohen shall provide him atonement, and he becomes pure. We're in Leviticus 14:21 right now. Shalom, yo. If he is poor and his means are not sufficient, then he shall take 1 male lamb as a guilt offering for a wave service to provide atonement for him, and 1/10 ephah of fine flour mixed with oil for a meal offering, and a log of oil, and 2 turtle doves or 2 young doves, for whichever his means are sufficient. One shall be a sin offering, and one a burnt offering. He shall bring them to the Kohen on the 8th day of his purification, to the entrance of the tent of meeting before Yahweh. The Kohen shall take the guilt offering lamb and the log of oil, and the Kohen shall wave them as a wave service before Yahweh. He shall slaughter the guilt offering lamb, and the Kohen shall take some of the guilt offering's blood and place it on the middle part of the right ear of the man being purified, and on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot. From the oil, the Kohen shall pour upon the Kohen's left palm. The Kohen shall sprinkle with his right forefinger some of the oil that is in his left palm 7 times before Yahweh. The Kohen shall place some of the oil that is on his palm upon the middle of the right ear of the person being purified, on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot, on the place of the guilt offering's blood. And the rest of the oil that is on the Kohen's palm, he shall place on the head of the person being purified, to provide him atonement before Yahweh. He shall then perform the service of one of the turtle doves or of the young doves, for whichever his means are sufficient. of whichever his means are sufficient. One is a sin offering, and one is a burnt offering, along with the meal offering. And the Kohen shall provide atonement for the one being purified before Yahweh. This is the law of one who in whom there is a sorrowous affliction, whose means are not sufficient for his purification. Yahweh spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, when you arrive in the land of Canaan that I give you as a possession, and I will place a sorrowous affliction upon the house in the land of your possession, the one to whom the house belongs shall come and declare to the Kohen, saying, something like an affliction has appeared to me in the house. The Kohen shall command, and they shall clear the house before the Kohen comes to look at the affliction, so that everything in the house should not become contaminated. And afterwards shall the Kohen come to look at the house. He shall look at the affliction, and behold, the affliction is on the walls of the house, depressed, deep greens or deep reds, and their appearance is lower than the wall. The Kohen shall exit from the house to the entrance of the house, and he shall quarantine the house for a 7-day period. The Kohen shall return on the 7th day. He shall look, and behold, the affliction has spread in the walls of the house. The Kohen shall command, and they shall remove the stones that contain the affliction, and they shall cast them outside the city onto a contaminated place. Shalom, where are you from? We're in Leviticus 14:41. If you want to help read, raise your hand, I'll bring you up. And the house shall be scraped on the inside, all around. The mortar that they have scraped, they are to pour outside the city onto a contaminated place. They shall take other stones and bring them in a place of the stones, and they shall take other mortar and plaster to the house. If the affliction returns and erupts in the house after he has removed the stones, after he has scraped the house and after plastering, then the Kohen shall come and look, and behold, the affliction has spread in the house. It is a malignant sorrows in the house. It is contaminated. He shall demolish the house, its stones, its timber, and all the mortar of the house. They shall take it to the outside of the city, to a contaminated place. Anyone who comes into the house during all the days he had quarantined it shall become contaminated until evening. But one who reclines in the house shall immerse his garments, and one who eats in the house shall immerse his garments. If the Kohen is to come and look, and behold, the affliction has not spread in the house after the plastering of the house, then the Kohen shall declare the house to be pure, for the affliction has healed. To purify the house, he shall take 2 birds, cedar wood, crimson thread, and hyssop. He shall slaughter the one bird into an earthenware vessel over spring water. He shall take the cedar wood, the hyssop, the crimson thread, and the live bird, and he shall dip them into the house 7 times. He shall cleanse the house with the blood of the bird, and with the spring water, and with the live bird, with the cedar wood, with the hyssop, and with the crimson thread. He shall set the live bird free toward the outside of the city upon the open field. Thus he shall provide atonement for the house, and it shall become purified. This is the law for every sorrowous affliction, and the nesek, and the sorrows of the garment, and of the house, and of the se'ez, of the sepulchres, and of the beharis, to rule on which day it is contaminated, and on which day it is purified. This is the law of the sorrows. All right, you can start at 15, Janisha. I don't know if you're reading or if you're muted, but yeah, if you want to read, you can start without 15. I think she got cold feet. All right, I'm gonna continue at 15. Yahweh spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, speak to the children of Yasharal, and say to them, it will have a discharge from his flesh. His discharge is contaminated. Thus shall be his contamination when he discharges, whether his flesh runs with his discharge, or becomes stopped up because of his discharge. That is his contamination. Any bedding upon which the person with the discharge will recline shall be contaminated, and any vessel upon which he will sit shall become contaminated. A person who will touch his bedding shall immerse his garments and immerse himself in the water, and he remains contaminated until the evening. And one who sits upon a vessel upon which the man with the discharge will sit shall immerse his garments and immerse himself in the water, and he remains contaminated until the evening. One who touches the flesh of the man with the discharge shall immerse his garments and immerse himself in the water, and he remains contaminated until the evening. Will spit upon a pure person. He shall immerse his garments and immerse himself in the water, and he remains contaminated until the evening. Any riding equipment upon which the person with the discharge will ride shall become contaminated, and whoever touches anything that will be beneath him shall become contaminated until evening. And whoever carries them shall immerse his garments and immerse himself in the water, and he remains contaminated until the evening. Whomever the man with the discharge touches, without having rinsed his hands, you nasty, without having rinsed his hands in the water, shall immerse his garments and immerse himself in the water, and he remains contaminated until the evening. That's why, man, make sure y'all wash your hands for y'all. That's why I do daps. I'm not shaking nobody's hand. Pottery that the man with the discharge will touch shall be broken, and any wooden utensil shall be rinsed in water. When the man with the discharge ceases his discharge, he shall count for himself 7 days from his cessation, immerse his garments and immerse his flesh in spring water, and become purified. On the 8th day he shall take for himself 2 turtle doves or 2 young doves. He shall come before Yahweh to the entrance of the tent of meeting, and give them to the Kohen. The Kohen shall make them one as a sin offering, and one as a burnt offering. Thus the Kohen shall provide him atonement before Yahweh from his discharge. A man from whom there is a discharge of semen shall immerse his entire flesh in the water, and remain contaminated until evening. Any garment or anything of leather upon which there shall be semen shall be immersed in the water and remain contaminated until evening. A woman with whom a man will have carnal relations, they shall immerse themselves in the water and remain contaminated until evening. When a woman has a discharge, her discharge from her flesh being blood, she shall be in her state of separation for a 7-day period, and anyone who touches her shall remain contaminated until the evening. Anything upon which she may recline during her state of separation shall become contaminated, and anything upon which she sits shall become contaminated. Shalom, God. We are in 15:21 of Leviticus. Anyone who touches her bedding, anyone who touches her bedding shall immerse his garments and immerse himself in the water, and he remains contaminated until evening. Anyone who touches any utensil upon which she shall sit shall immerse his garments and immerse himself in the water, and he remains contaminated until evening. Or if someone is upon the bedding or the utensil upon which she is sitting, when he touches it, he becomes contaminated until evening. If a man lies with her, then her state of separation will be upon him, and he becomes contaminated for a 7-day period. Any bedding upon which he may recline shall become contaminated. If a woman's blood flows for many days outside of her period of separation, or if she has a flow after her separation, all the days of her contaminated flow shall be like the days of her separation. She is contaminated. Any bedding upon which she may lie throughout the days of her flow shall be to her like the bedding of the state of her separation. Any vessel upon which she may sit shall be contaminated, like the contamination of her state of separation. Anyone who touches them shall become contaminated. He shall immerse his garments and immerse himself in the water, and he remains contaminated until evening. If she ceases her flow, she must count 7 days for herself, and afterwards she can be purified. On the 8th day she shall take for herself 2 turtle doves or 2 young doves. She shall bring them to the Kohen, to the entrance of the tent of meeting. The Kohen shall make one a sin offering and one a burnt offering. The Kohen shall provide atonement for her before Yahweh from her contaminated flow. You shall separate the children of Yasharal from their contamination, and they shall not die as a result of their contamination if they contaminate my tabernacle that is among them. This is the law of a man with a discharge, and from whom there is a seminal discharge, through which he becomes contaminated, and concerning a woman who suffers through her separation, and concerning a person who has his flow, whether male or female, and concerning a male who lies with a contaminated woman. Chapter 16. Yahweh spoke to Moses after the death of Aaron's 2 sons, when they approached before Yahweh and they died. And Yahweh said to Moses, Speak to Aaron, your brother. He shall not come at all times into the sanctuary within the curtain, in front of the cover that is upon the ark, so that he shall not die. For in the cloud will I appear upon the ark cover. With this shall Aaron come into the sanctuary, with a young bull for a sin offering, and a ram for a burnt offering. He shall don a sacred linen tunic. Linen breeches shall be upon his flesh. He shall gird himself with a linen sash, and cover his head with a linen turban. They are sacred vestments. He shall immerse himself in the water and then don them. From the assembly of the children of Yasharah he shall take 2 he-goats for a sin offering, and 1 ram for a burnt offering. Aaron shall bring near his own sin offering bull, and provide atonement for himself and for his household. He shall take the 2 he-goats and stand them before Yahweh at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Aaron shall place lots upon the 2 he-goats, 1 lot for Yahweh and 1 lot for the Azazel. Aaron shall bring near the he-goat designated by lot for Yahweh and make it a sin offering. And the he-goat designated by lot for Azazel shall be stood alive before Yahweh to provide atonement through it, to send it to Azazel to the wilderness. Aaron shall bring near his own, shall bring his own, hold up. Aaron shall bring near his own sin offering bull, and he shall provide atonement for himself and for his household. Then he shall slaughter his own sin offering bull. He shall take a shovelful of fiery coals from atop the altar that is before Yahweh, and his cupped hands full of finely ground incense spices, and bring it within the curtain. He shall place the incense upon fire before Yahweh, so that the cloud of the incense shall blanket the ark cover that is atop the tablets of the testimony, so they shall not die. He shall take some of the blood of the bull and sprinkle with his forefinger upon the eastern front of the ark cover, and in front of the ark cover he shall sprinkle 7 times from the blood with his forefinger. He shall slaughter the sin offering he-goat of the people, and bring its blood within the curtain. He shall do with its blood as he has done with the blood of the bull, and sprinkle it upon the ark cover and in front of the ark cover. Thus shall he provide atonement upon the sanctuary for the contaminations of the children of Yasharah, even for their rebellious sins among all their sins, and so shall he do for the tent of meeting that dwells with them, and their contamination. Any person shall not be in the tent of meeting when he comes to provide atonement in the sanctuary until his departure. He shall provide atonement for himself and for his household, and for the entire congregation of Yasharah. He shall go out to the altar that is before Yahweh, and make atonement upon it. He shall take some blood of the bull and some blood of the he-goat, and place it on the horns of the altar all around. He shall sprinkle upon it from the blood with his forefinger 7 times. Thus shall he cleanse it and sanctify it from the contaminations of the children of Yasharah. When he is finished atoning for the sanctuary, the tent of meeting, and the altar, he shall bring the living he-goat near. Aaron shall lean his 2 hands upon the head of the living he-goat, and confess upon it all the iniquities of the children of Yasharah, and all their rebellious sins among all their sins, and place them upon the head of the he-goat, and send it with a designated man to the desert. The he-goat will bear upon itself all their iniquities to an uninhabited land, and he shall send the he-goat to the desert. Aaron shall come to the tent of meeting. He shall remove the linen vestments that he had worn when he entered the sanctuary, and he shall leave them there. He shall immerse himself in the water in a sacred place and don his vestments. He shall go out and perform his own burnt offering and the burnt offering of the people, and shall provide atonement for himself and for the people. And the fat of the sin offering he shall cause to go up in smoke upon the altar. The one who dispatched the he-goat to Azazel shall immerse his clothing and immerse himself in the water. Thereafter he may enter the camp. The sin offering bull and the sin offering he-goat, whose blood had been brought to provide atonement in the sanctuary, someone shall remove to the outside of the camp, and they shall burn in the fire their hides, their flesh, and their dung. The one who burns them shall immerse his clothing and immerse himself in the water. Thereafter he may enter the camp. This shall remain for you an eternal decree. In the 7th month of the 10th of the month, you shall afflict yourself, and you shall not do any work, neither the native nor the proselyte who dwells among your who dwells among you. For on this day he shall provide atonement for you to cleanse you from all your sins before Yahweh shall you be cleansed. It is a Shabbat of complete rest for you, for you, and you shall afflict yourselves an eternal decree. The Kohen who has been anointed, who has been given the authority to serve in place of his father, shall provide atonement. He shall don the linen vestments, the sacred vestments. He shall bring atonement upon the holy of holies, and he shall bring atonement upon the tent of meeting, and the altar, and upon the Kohanim, and upon all the people of the congregation shall he bring atonement. There shall be to you an eternal decree to bring atonement upon the children of Yasharal for all their sins once a year. And Aaron did as Yahweh had commanded Moses. 17. Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to Aaron and his sons, and to all the children of Yasharal, and say to them, This is the matter that Yahweh has commanded, saying, Any man from the house of Yasharal who will slaughter an ox, a sheep, or a goat in the camp, or will slaughter outside the camp, and has not brought it to the entrance of the tent of meeting to bring it as an offering to Yahweh before the tabernacle of Yahweh, it shall be considered as bloodshed for that man. He has shed blood, and that man shall be cut off from the midst of his people, so that the children of Israel will bring their feast offerings that they have been slaughtering on the open field, and they shall bring them to Yahweh to the entrance of the tent of meeting to the Kohen, and they shall slaughter them as a peace offerings to Yahweh. The Kohen shall slaughter them the Kohen shall throw the blood upon the altar of Yahweh at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and he shall cause the fats to go up in smoke for a satisfying aroma to Yahweh. They shall no longer slaughter their offerings to the demons after whom they stray. This shall be an eternal decree to them for their generations. And to them you shall say, Any man of the house of Yasharal and of the proselyte who shall dwell among you, who will offer up a burnt offering or a feast offering, and he will not bring it to the entrance of the tent of meeting to perform his service to Yahweh, that man shall be cut off from the midst of his people. Any man of the house of Yasharal and of the proselyte who dwells among them, who will consume any blood, I shall concentrate my attention upon the soul consuming the blood, and I will cut it off from his people. For the soul of the flesh is in the blood, and I have assigned it for you upon the altar to provide atonement for your souls, for it is the blood that atones for the soul. Therefore I have said to the children of Yasharal, Any person among you may not consume blood, and the proselyte who dwells among you may not consume blood. Any man of the children of Yasharal and of the proselyte who dwells among them, who will trap a beast or a bird that may be eaten, he shall pour out his blood and cover it with the earth. For the life of any creature, its blood represents life. So I say to the children of Yasharal, You shall not consume the blood of any creature, for the life of any creature is in its blood. Whoever consumes it will be cut off. Any person who will eat a bird that died or was torn, the native or the proselyte, he shall immerse his garments and immerse himself in the water. He shall remain contaminated until evening, then become pure. But if he does not immerse his garments and does not immerse his flesh, he shall bear his iniquity. Chapter 18. Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Yasharal and say to them, I am Yahweh, your Elohim. Do not perform the practice of the land of Egypt in which you dwell, and do not perform the practice of the land of Canaan to which I bring you, and do not follow their traditions. Carry out my laws and safeguard my decrees to follow them. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. You shall observe my decrees and my laws, which man shall carry out and by which he shall live. I am Yahweh. Any man shall not approach his close relative to uncover nakedness. I am Yahweh. The nakedness of your father and the nakedness of your mother you shall not uncover. She is your mother. You shall not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of your father's wife you shall not uncover. It is your father's shame. The nakedness of your sister, whether your father's daughter or your mother's daughter, whether born to one who may remain in the home or born to one who must remain outside of it, you shall not uncover their nakedness. The nakedness of your son's daughter or your daughter's daughter, you shall not uncover their nakedness, for they are your own shame. The nakedness of your father's wife's daughter, who was born to your father, she is your sister. You shall not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of your father's sister, you shall not uncover. She is your father's flesh. The nakedness of your mother's sister, you shall not uncover, for she is your mother's flesh. The nakedness of your father's brother you shall not uncover. Do not approach his wife. She is your aunt. The nakedness of your daughter-in-law you shall not uncover. She is your son's wife. You shall not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of your brother's wife you shall not uncover. It is your brother's shame. The nakedness of a woman and her daughter shall you not uncover. You shall not take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness. They are close relatives. It is a depraved plot. You shall not take a woman in addition to her sister, to make them rivals, to uncover the nakedness of one upon the other in her lifetime. You shall not approach a woman in her time of unclean separation, to uncover her nakedness. You shall not lie carnally with your fellow's wife, to contaminate yourself with her. You shall not present any of your children to pass through for Molech, and do not profane the name of your Elohim. I am Yahweh. You shall not lie with a man as one lies with a woman. It is an abomination. Do not lie with any animal to be contaminated with it. A woman shall not stand before an animal for mating. It is a perversion. Do not become contaminated through any of these, for through all of these nations that I expelled before you became contaminated. The land became contaminated, and I recalled its iniquity upon it, and the land disgorged its inhabitants. But you shall safeguard my decrees and my judgments, and not commit any of these abominations, the native or the proselyte who lives among you. For the inhabitants of the land who are before you committed all these abominations, and the land became contaminated. Let not the land disgorge you for having contaminated it, as it disgorged the nation that was before you. For if anyone commits any of these abominations, the people doing so will be cut off from among their people. You shall safeguard my charge not to do any of these abominable traditions that were done before you, and not contaminate yourselves through them. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. 19. Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the entire assembly of the children of Yasharal, and say to them, You shall be holy, for holy am I, Yahweh, your Elohim. Every man, your mother and father shall you revere, and my Shabbats shall you observe. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. Do not turn to the idols and molten gods and molten gods shall you not make for yourselves. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. When you slaughter a peace offering to Yahweh, you shall slaughter it to find favor for yourselves. On the day of your slaughter shall it be eaten, and on the next day, and whatever remains until the third day shall be burned in fire. But if it shall be eaten on the third day, it is rejected, it shall not be accepted. Each of those who eat it will bear his iniquity. For what is sacred to Yahweh has he desecrated, and that soul will be cut off from his people. When you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not complete your reaping to the corner of your field, and the gleanings of your harvest you shall not take. You shall not pick the undeveloped twigs of your vineyard, and the fallen fruit of your vineyard shall you not gather. For the poor and the proselyte shall you leave them. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. You shall not steal. You shall not deny falsely, and you shall not lie one man to his fellow. You shall not swear falsely by my name, thereby desecrating the name of your Elohim. I am Yahweh. You shall not cheat your fellow, and you shall not rob. You shall not rob. A worker's wage shall not remain with you overnight until morning. You shall not curse the deaf, and you shall not place a stumbling block before the blind. You shall fear your Elohim. I am Yahweh. You shall not commit a perversion of justice. You shall not favor the poor, and you shall not honor the great. With righteousness shall you judge your fellow. You shall not be a gossip monger among your people. You shall not stand aside while your fellow's blood is shed. I am Yahweh. You shall not hate your brother in your heart. You shall reprove your fellow, and do not bear a sin because of him. You shall not take revenge, and you shall not bear a grudge against the members of your people. You shall love your fellow as yourself. I am Yahweh. You shall observe my decrees. You shall not mate your animal into another species. You shall not plant your field with mixed seed, and a garment that is a mixture of combined fibers shall not come upon you. If a man lies carnally with a woman, and she is a slave woman who has been designated for another man, and who has not been redeemed, or freedom has not been granted her, there shall be an investigation. They shall not be put to death, for she has not been freed. He shall bring his guilt offering to Yahweh, to the entrance of the tent of meeting, a ram guilt offering. The Kohen shall provide him atonement with the ram guilt offering before Yahweh for the sin that he had committed, and the sin that he had committed shall be forgiven him. When you shall come to the land and you shall plant any fruit tree, you shall eat its fruit as forbidden. Treat its fruit as forbidden. For 3 years they shall be forbidden to you. They shall not be eaten. In the 4th year, all its fruit shall be sanctified to Lord Yahweh. And in the 5th year you may eat its fruit, so that it will increase its crop for you. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. You shall not eat over the blood. You shall not indulge in sorcery, and you shall not believe in lucky times. You shall not round off the edge of your scalp, and you shall not destroy the edge of your beard. You shall not make a cut in your flesh for the dead, and a tattoo shall you not place upon yourselves. I am Yahweh. Do not profane your daughter to make her a harlot, lest the land become lewd, and the land become filled with depravity. My Shabbat shall you observe, and my sanctuary shall you revere. I am Yahweh. Do not turn to the sorcery of the Ovos and the Yedonim. Do not seek to be contaminated through them. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. In the presence of an old person shall you rise, and you shall honor the presence of a sage, and you shall revere your Elohim. I am Yahweh. When a proselyte dwells among you in your land, do not taunt him. The proselyte who dwells with you shall be like a native among you, and you shall love him like yourself, for you were aliens in the land of Egypt. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. You shall not commit a perversion in justice, in measures of length, weight, or volume. You shall have correct scales, correct weights, correct dry measures, and correct liquid measures. I am Yahweh, your Elohim, who brought you forth from the land of Egypt. You shall observe all my decrees and all my ordinances, and you shall perform them. I am Yahweh. Chapter 20. Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Say to the children of Yasharal, any man from the children of Yasharal and from the proselyte who lives with Yasharal, who shall give of his seed to Molech, shall be put to death. The people of the land shall pelt him with stones. I shall concentrate my attention upon that man, and I shall cut him off from among his people, for he had given from his offspring to Molech in order to defile my sanctuary and to desecrate my holy name. But if the people of the land avert their eyes from that man when he gives from his offspring to Molech, not to put him to death, then I shall concentrate my attention upon that man and upon his family. I will cut off from among their people him and all who stray after him to stray after Molech. And the person who shall turn to the sorcery of the Ovos and the Yedonim to stray after them, I shall concentrate my attention upon that person and cut him off from among his people. You shall sanctify yourselves, and you will be holy, for I am Yahweh, your Elohim. You shall observe my decrees and perform them. I am Yahweh, who sanctifies you. For any man who will curse his father or his mother shall be put to death. His father or his mother has he cursed. His blood is upon him. A man who will commit adultery with a man's wife, who will commit adultery with his fellow's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall be put to death. A man who shall lie with his father's wife will have uncovered his father's shame. The two of them shall be put to death. Their blood is upon themselves. A man who shall lie with his daughter-in-law, the two of them shall be put to death. They have committed a perversion. Their blood is upon themselves. A man who lies with a man as one lies with a woman, they have both done an abomination. They shall be put to death. Their blood is upon themselves. Slakia. A man who shall take a... oh, man. Hold up. This air is cold out here. A man who shall lie... Hold up. Okay. 14. A man who shall take a woman and her mother is a depraved plot. They shall burn him and them in fire, and there shall not be depravity among you. A man who shall lie with an animal shall be put to death, and you shall kill the animal. And a woman who approaches any animal for it to mate with her, you shall kill the woman and the animal. They shall be put to death. Their blood is upon them. A man who shall take his sister, the daughter of his father or the daughter of his mother, and he shall see her nakedness, and she shall see his nakedness. It is a disgrace. They shall be cut off in the sight of the members of their people. He will have uncovered the nakedness of his sister. He shall bear his iniquity. A man who shall lie with a woman in her affliction, and has uncovered her nakedness, he will have buried her source, and she has buried the source of her blood. The two of them will be cut off from the midst of their people. The nakedness of your mother's sister or your father's sister shall you not uncover, for that is burying one's own flesh. They shall bear their iniquity. And a man who shall lie with his aunt will have uncovered the nakedness of his uncle. They shall bear their sin. They shall die childless. A man who shall take his brother's wife, it is loathsome. He will have uncovered his brother's shame. They shall be childless. You shall observe all my decrees and all my ordinances and perform them. Then the land to which I bring you to dwell will not discourage you. Do not follow the traditions of the nations that I expel from before you, for they did all of these, and I was disgusted with them. So I said to you, you shall inherit their land, and I will give it to you to inherit it, a land flowing with milk and honey. I am Yahweh, your Elohim, who has separated you from the peoples. You shall distinguish between the clean animal and the unclean, and between the clean bird and the unclean, and shall not render your souls abominable through such animals and birds, and through anything that creeps on the ground, which I have set apart for you to render unclean. You shall be holy for me, for I, Yahweh, am holy, and I have separated you from the peoples to be mine. Any man or woman in whom there shall be the sorcery of Or or Yadoni, they shall be put to death. They shall pelt them with stones, their blood is upon themselves. All right, y'all, that concludes 11 through 20. We're going to finish this up 21 through 27 tomorrow, probably around 7:30, same time, 8 o'clock, something like that. Shalom Nagan, you're late. We just finished. But if you want to join the Tanakh reading room, you can, yeah, I figured. Anyway, yeah, Shalom, y'all. May the Most High bless you. Appreciate y'all coming to listen. And, yeah, let's continue. Let's get back on this consistently. I had some things. Nobody showed up on Wednesday, I think it was. So I waited like 10, 15 minutes. Nobody showed up. So I just said I rescheduled it to the next day and then had some things going on. And yeah, but we're back on it, man. Let's get this consistently every day. As long as somebody shows up, I'm gonna read. And yeah, let's get this thing. Let's get it done with. Appreciate y'all. May the Most High bless y'all, protect y'all, and shalom. Y'all have a good night.